It wasn't just a cartoon, it was a cinematic revolution. Walt Disney's vision turned this classic fairy tale into a visual and emotional spectacle. So get ready to journey back into the magical world of Snow White and the Evil Queen, and of course those lovable 7 dwarfs.
He's smiling, he's not frowning, but that
But maybe
smile...
it's that psychotic snake.
Definitely without using the Evil Queen recipe. Apple is ready.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Film and Flavor. I'm Zain Hasan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ahmed Zayani.
Our film for today is one of the timeless films that shaped the history of cinema.
It is a groundbreaking masterpiece, the one that started it all for animated feature films. It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was released in 1937 by Walt Disney Productions. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is an animated musical fantasy based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. The production was supervised by David Hand and was directed by a team of sequence directors, including Perce Pierce, William Cottrell, Larry Morey, Wilfred Jackson, and Ben Sharpstein. It is the first animated feature film produced in the United States and the first cel animated feature film.
That's right. It wasn't just a cartoon, it was a cinematic revolution. Walt Disney's vision turned this classic fairy tale into a visual and emotional spectacle. So get ready to journey back into the magical world of Snow White and the Evil Queen, and of course those lovable 7 dwarfs.
Now, Zayn, Walt Disney took a huge gamble when he made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
He really did.
Because at that point, animated films were limited to show reels that were played ahead of features, and they weren't longer than 5 minutes in length.
Yeah.
So to propose a feature film that is all hand-drawn, that was quite the challenge for him, to the point that he could not get financing. Walt Disney actually brokered his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he mortgaged his house so that if this film failed, his family and himself would literally be homeless.
Oh, that's actually a really sad story.
It is.
I did not know that.
But as history proved, that wasn't the case for him.
Yeah.
The film has been a smashing success, and it's still loved till this day. People revisit it whenever it's screened in cinemas every couple of decades.
Yeah.
I'm sure you own this in your Blu-ray collection. I know I do. With the advent streaming, it's all over the place. And it's worth the revisit, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, Snow White truly shaped the world of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first, I'm pretty sure, it was the first animated cartoon that actually exceeded 20 minutes.
No, it's the first one in the United States.
In the United States,
there were a couple of attempts in Europe.
Yeah.
But Snow White is known to revolutionize cinema on a grander scale because it's so much more accessible than anything that preceded it.
And it truly was a beautiful story. The way that Walt Disney was able to imagine this whole new world, and of course taking some inspiration from the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, he kind of managed to switch the story up a bit to make it a bit more child-friendly. But he succeeded so well at that it became one of the most successful children's movies of its time.
Oh, absolutely. And it says something that most people would recognize the story of Snow White from the Walt Disney production rather than the original source material.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the way that it is, realistically speaking, with most Disney films.
Oh, absolutely.
They're mostly inspired by Brothers Grimm's fairy tales, but the way that Disney adapts those stories is he just does it in a way that is so original and so authentic. I feel like it just changes the feel of the story.
Yeah, one of the things that Walt really knew how to do is to communicate to his audience.
Yeah.
He did have that charming personality that made people gravitate towards him.
For sure.
For a lot of people back in the day, especially, a trip to Disneyland was mainly to meet him rather than meet the characters or enjoy the rides. So he knows exactly how to get to people. And he knows how to fine-tune a story to best suit everybody in a family, not just the children, but the adults as well.
For sure. I mean, Walt's imagination truly exceeds him, and he made sure with every fiber in his being that he showed people that there are no limits to your imagination. And he showed that through his films and his work and his art. And especially, I don't know if you know this, but the little quote at the end of Meet the Robinsons, the film, he says something that has always stuck with me, which is keep moving forward. That's kind of like Walt's saying.
Yeah, that's
and
one
he
of his
did.
things, yeah.
That is what he did, in fact, that he kept moving forward, you know? With his imagination, there is no limit to it. And that's what I truly love and enjoy about Disney films.
And to think that whether they're phenomenal Disney animated films or maybe the lesser regarded ones, these films that came from Walt Disney will always stick in our memory.
Always.
Is something that we will revisit time and time again. And even something like, let's say, Hunchback of Notre Dame, that wasn't appreciated at the time, we can enjoy it as it is today.
For sure. Yeah.
May I come in?
Let's start with a story adapted from the Brothers Grimm fairy tale. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs tells the tale of a kind and beautiful princess, Snow White, who is forced to flee her castle when her stepmother, the Evil Queen, becomes jealous of her beauty.
Snow White finds a refuge with 7 quirky dwarfs: Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and of course Dopey. They live in a little cottage in the woods and offer her protection, but the queen won't give up easily. In one of the film's most iconic scenes, she transforms into an old hag and tempts Snow White with a poisoned candy apple.
Snow White falls into a deep sleep that only true love can break. It's a timeless story of jealousy, friendship, courage, and of course, true love.
Did you know that this was the first full-length animated feature in cinematic history? It took 3 years, a dedicated team of animators, and a staggering budget of $1.5 million, a huge sum at the time. Now, what do you think of the scope of this film?
Honestly, I thought it was a truly wonderful film. I thought the way that they presented Snow White's innocence showed you truly how naive she was. I mean, she is 13 years old, by the way.
Yeah.
She is a very young princess. She's the youngest Disney princess.
And that's very awkward to think about now, looking back
Very
at what
awkward,
happens in the
but
movie.
different times, different traditions. I understand that. But what do you think of now that the live action is set? Like
We do not
talk about the live action.
Now,
We are going to talk about the live action.
Friends who are watching this with bated breath to see what I would say about the live action ones, and I do not dare talk about it.
Why? Are you not a fan of live actions?
I am a fan of live actions, but I do also think that it's better to, if something is unbroken, don't try to fix it.
For sure. I mean, but the way that they're trying to build Snow White in the live action is that they're trying to modernize her a lot, which some people do not like. I don't know if you like it or if you don't like it. You don't seem to like it, but let's just move forward with the story.
I'll save my comments till we're off the air.
Yeah, sure. The film's animation was revolutionary. The multi-plane camera created depth, and the hand-drawn animation was incredibly detailed. It's no wonder this film was honored with an honorary Academy Award, a standard Oscar statue, plus 7 miniature ones. The voice actors were carefully chosen to bring the characters to life. Adriana Caselotti provided the voice for Snow White, and her soft, melodic voice perfectly captured Snow White's innocence. And let's not forget Lucia Laverne as the Evil Queen. Did you guys know that she removed her dentures to achieve that raspy, witchy voice for the Queen's hag transformation?
Her voice and the voice of the mirror were really iconic. Now let's talk about that candy apple scene. It's one of the most chilling and memorable moments in the film.
Absolutely. The candy apple symbolizes temptation and deceit. The evil queen's transformation into the old hag is terrifying, and the way she manipulates Snow White into taking the poisoned apple is masterful storytelling. Today, we are recreating the film's iconic candy apple scene. Chef Ali Yosif will show us how to make our own candy apples, minus the poison one, of course.
Hi everyone, I'm Chef Ali Yosif. Today we are making candy apples as seen in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but definitely without using the Evil Queen recipe. Making candy apples is surprisingly easy and can bring lots of fun for you and your family or friends. To start with, we've got sugar, corn syrup, water, color green powder. Why? Because I'm using white chocolate instead of using melting candy. Because we don't, it's not available in the region, so that's an instead you can use, no problem. White, red color, apples, and of course you need, if you know the barbecue sticks, or if you don't have them, you can get chopsticks and also parchment paper you need. Let's heat this first. We're going to put sugar. This is what I love about candies and sweets in general, actually. It's all about sugar and icing and caramelizing and that, but we're not going to caramelize that one. We're going to mix it with water. Not a lot of water, just quarter cup or half cup is fine. And then we're going to add the corn syrup in here. Candy corn syrup. We're going to melt all the ingredients together until we have very nice and thick texture. We're going to bring it to boil and then get back to you shortly. We're back. It's ready. Gonna switch that off and gonna place another one there. I'll tell you why in a bit. Now we're going to place this in a bowl. And so it gets easier for us to, have I mentioned that we're using apples? If I haven't, I'm sorry. We've got 4 apples in there. Now we're adding the colors. We have red color. Now we're mixing this together, make sure it's all mixed. Right. Now we're going to take the apples like lollipops. Right? That way. And we're going to dip it in. Make sure you dip it all the way around. That's it. We're done with the red color. Let's do the green color. Now we're back to do the green part. Going to heat the white chocolate to it on a low heat. You don't want to burn it. Going to do it on a low heat. Then once ready, and our wizards. The wizards is to make it green. Wait. We're going to do it slowly. It's almost there, ready to use. There's a few chunks need to be melted. Since the sauce is ready, now we're going to just put it over the apple, as I have put stickers on it, make life easier. As you see, the mouth and 2 eyes. And if you're a good drawer, you can just put it on a squeezer and draw in the eye and the mouth, and then you fill in the rest of the apple. Right, now, we're going to fill it up by adding the chocolate all over the apple. And of course, we're going to keep it until it gets cold, so we can just take off the stickers. As one apple is ready. And now we have it ready, one of my favorite treats of Disneyland. The candy apples, enjoy it.
Welcome back. This looks amazing. I can see why Snow White couldn't resist, but these are safe to eat, right? No evil queens looking around here?
100% safe, I promise. Okay, this is a moment of truth. Let's see if these taste as good as they look.
All right.
And this, I gotta say, is a very handsome fella, huh?
Very. Looks very menacing.
I mean, he's smiling, he's not frowning, but that
Yeah, but maybe
smile,
it's a psychotic smile.
it hides something behind it, right?
It does, yeah.
All right. Are you gonna eat with our hands,
I'll
or?
attempt to use a fork and a knife first. Let's see how this one goes.
Let's see how it goes with you.
Oh. All right, okay.
Okay. You know, I think I have a reputation to keep up, so I'll just eat this with my hand. Oh, it's sticky. Huh? Okay.
All right. You give it... Is it as good as it looks, or...?
Actually, it is.
Oh, okay.
It's very sweet. Here's a Granny Smith apple here, so it's naturally sweet by itself.
All right.
It's like a sweet glaze wrapped around the apple, and then the white chocolate just complements it and brings it all together.
Oh, all right, wait. I'll give it a taste.
What do you think?
This kind of reminds me of a glazed donut.
You know what? I'll give you that, yeah.
It kind of tastes like a glazed donut. So I can see why. You know, I actually always got so mad and frustrated at Snow White for taking that apple from the evil queen. To me, even as a kid, the most logical explanation for that was to just, the most logical way of actually responding to the evil queen would be, no, thank you, I'm good. But it's the fact that she just went, you know what, I'll just get this really strange looking apple from this strange looking lady in the middle of nowhere, and I'll just decide to trust her, you know? But I always thought as a kid, why would you do that? That is the stupidest thing you could do. But looking back at it, I think that was
Now you
Walt
understand.
Disney. Yeah, that was Walt Disney's way of trying to show the audience that Snow White really, truly is naive. She's very innocent at heart, and she's very forgiving, and she's very loving, and she tends to see the good in people. And I felt like she tried to see the good in that woman, and to not judge a book by its cover.
True. And like you said, she's just 13 years old, and I think
Yeah.
we do forget that. And at that age, we don't exactly have the best judgment.
Exactly.
So if an older person shows up at our doorstep, and we've been living for God knows how long in the woods, with a nice sweet treat, we're gonna take it.
Exactly. I wouldn't.
Me at my age, I would still take it.
You would. Wow.
I would be a very easy guy to kidnap. Just give me candy and I'm all yours.
No, I've always been told not to take candy from strangers, so I think I know what to do when a woman comes up to me, especially like the evil queen, and gave me candy. But I mean, that I growing up, I like now as a 19-year-old woman, I understand why Snow White would do what she did. It's because she sees the good in people and she's very forgiving, and she's a princess at heart, and that's what princesses do. They're kind and they're sweet and they're forgiving. But what did you think of the Seven Dwarfs? Did they creep you out as a child? Because many people seem to have this idea about them, that they resembled the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz.
All right, okay.
They do resemble the Munchkins in many ways, and the Munchkins used to freak me out. So what do
Really?
you
Did
think
they?
of this? They did.
Isn't
They
the
still
voice?
do. Yeah.
And
the Munchkin song.
crowd.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that is it. So what do you think of the Seven Dwarfs?
I like them. I like as a kid, I loved Dopey.
All right.
Now, as a slightly older person than you, I really gravitated more towards Grumpy for whatever reason that may be.
Yeah, I get it.
But I still like Doc mainly because of the glasses. It's something I can relate to him.
Yeah, that's cool.
But if you want nightmare fuel, watch the dwarves in the trailer for the remake.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of backlash about that, and let's just say I'm not a big fan of the way that they look.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but you know, as I'm growing older, I'm starting to realize that the person that I relate to most in the original Snow White film is probably Snow White herself, I'd say.
Okay.
When she first found herself in the cottage, she decided to just make it her home and to just clean up and sing songs and make it a happy experience. I feel like that's the way that I deal with that situation as well.
So you're telling me you want to be a hoarder?
Basically.
Okay. Okay.
Basically.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Wow, the crunch is perfect and that candy coating is just the right amount of sweet. What do you think?
I agree. I gravitate towards sweets myself. So this is absolutely my forte.
Same. It's a perfect treat to enjoy while watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs film.
My favorite scene is when Snow White first escapes through the haunted forest. You know, after the hunter allows her to live. And I love when Disney just throws a scary scene at you, you know?
For
and
sure,
that was perfect. And the way it just ends with her discovering the cottage and singing the Whistle As You Go song.
Wow, that's impressive.
I aim to please. So it just melds together beautifully.
For sure,
what about
yeah.
you?
My favorite scene would probably have to be a classic one. It's when Snow White is singing Into the Wishing Well.
Okay.
It was the opening scene, I believe, and I just thought it was a very beautiful song, and she has a really beautiful voice, and it's just a very nostalgic one for
Do you
me.
remember the lyrics of that song?
I remembered in Arabic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a CD as a kid, but it was in Arabic, so
Okay,
I
that's-
never really watched Snow White in English, so
You need to pass me that CD.
for sure.
For sure.
What I mostly like about the film is how they were able to create such a beautiful and timeless story I mean, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a classic story, and I think that no matter how many times you rewatch it, you'll find the beauty in it every single time. It just never gets old.
Well, absolutely. I think that's the beauty of 2D animation as well.
For sure.
It does have that timeless aspect to it.
Yeah.
And no film better showcases this
For sure.
than Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is more than just a film. It's a piece of history, from its groundbreaking animation to its unforgettable story. It's a movie that continues to enchant audiences nearly 90 years later. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and of course, a huge thanks to Chef Ali Yosif for making these very tasty candy apples.
Yes, thank you once again for Chef Ali Yosif. And if you've never seen it or haven't watched it in a while, it is the perfect time to revisit this classic and appreciate the magic it brought to the screen. Don't forget to make your own candy apples and enjoy a piece of cinematic history with every bite. See you next time with another movie and another dish. Goodbye.